Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gents. This is DafubFilm&TV, and I have just belatedly watched the final episode of what may well be season 1, or the only season, depending on how it plays out, of Genv. Again, real life has gotten in the way, so I wasn't able to review it when it initially came out. My apologies for the delay, but that's the way things go. Upon starting this episode, the first immediate kind of instinct I had was, oh bugger. And the reason why it was oh bugger is because I looked at the runtime of the episode and I'm suddenly thinking, what is it here? Look at the exact number. At the end, I'm thinking, oh God, they're pulling a Disney Plus, because the entire episode is exactly, pardon me, is exactly 38 minutes long. Which, if you take into account both the previously on section at the beginning of the episode and the trailers that tend to go on for a number of minutes, or not the trailers, sorry, the credits that tend to go on for a number of minutes, particularly with these streaming shows, that's, not a particularly long runtime. And so I immediately started to get flashbacks to Secret Invasion, which I think is the most egregious example of multiple ridiculously short episodes for a live action TV show that isn't a sitcom, which has been a pervasive problem in Disney Plus content, and was also, not as much of an issue, but there certainly were, I think, at least 2 episodes of Ahsoka that had the similar committed the same offense. In other words, well below 40 minutes long, barely half an hour, a little bit more than that. And season 3 of The Mandalorian did the exact same thing, much to my substantial annoyance then. What this episode, however, does, again, in comparison to Disney Plus, is it kind of really, I think the term to use is juxtaposes, where you have this, again, too short, one could say, episode of Genv, which in my opinion should just have been attached to the previous episode that was released last week, episode 7. It would have made episode 7 longer. It probably would have been over an hour long, but I think that would have been overall a better, in my opinion, season final. Maybe they originally planned for this, to have 8 episodes in total, or maybe they decided, screw it, we'll just stretch it out an extra week and cut, 38 minutes in total, or whatever the actual runtime of the episode is, 30 minutes, 34, 35 minutes of the runtime off the final, and make that the final in a separate episode the week after, to just prolong the run of the season. But the episodes that you get from Disney Plus that are this long, whether it be Ahsoka, The Mandalorian, or Secret Invasion, they're genuinely quite frustrating, because you sit down to watch an episode, if you're looking forward to what you're watching, and then when you take into account previously on and the credits at the end, the episodes short episodes tend to be barely half an hour or less in total actual runtime. And so you get you're sitting down, oh, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen this episode? And it's literally over before it's begun, effectively, or close to it. And frankly, it is, quite frustrating. And also, again, the kind of the core disease that Disney Plus suffers from, which is that you can go episode after episode after episode where nothing meaningful happens, where none of the core plot threads are pushed forward, or they're pushed forward at such a glacial pace it feels like nothing is happening, and everything just feels incredibly slow. And, it becomes, quite the chore to keep watching, as it did with Ahsoka, and absolutely did with season 3 of The Mandalorian. And again, there are a lot of problems with season 3 of Mandalorian, but Secret Invasion kind of tops them all. Multiple 30-minute and a bit at best episodes, one after another, where bugger all happens, and just going week after. I think it's 6 episodes in Secret Invasion. I think most of them, or close to half of them, if not more, are sub 40 minute, which again, if you include previously on and the credits, the actual runtime of the episodes are 30 minutes or less. And it's frankly, incredibly frustrating, and nothing happens. In comparison here, as I said pretty much in every review of every episode I've made of Genv, it's just so much better written than anything we've gotten out of Disney Plus. Now, again, Disney Plus the last 2 years has been a train wreck. The writing isn't there. The quality isn't there. They're spending, insane amounts of money. It apparently came out that they spent $25 million on the episode final, season final for She-Hulk, which is more money than they spent on the episode final for season 8 of Game of Thrones. Now, that is absolutely and utterly insane. Now, my guess is that a lot of that cost is down to just them being incompetent or stupid. They do the final episode, the writing isn't there, it's not done, and they have to do reshoot after reshoot to get things fixed, or at least they think get things fixed, or at least improved. And that drives the cost of the episode through the roof, and a lot of the episodes of that show through the roof, which seems to be a problem. They seem to be apparently obsessed over there with fixing things in post, which can mean reshoots, which can mean an awful lot of more money being spent than has to be spent. So it's all a bit of a train wreck. Well, it's not just a bit of a train wreck; it is an absolute train wreck at Disney Plus, and has been for quite some time. And compared to, again, come back to this actual show and this actual episode, I don't know how much Genv cost to make. I'd love to know how much it cost to make. But this episode is, like all the others, so much more better written than anything we've gotten out of Disney Plus, including season 2 of Loki, which I think is the best thing, which doesn't necessarily mean it's a good show considering the standards on Disney Plus are so poor. But right now, Loki is the best thing I've seen on Disney Plus in 2 years. In terms of the writing, the acting is there. There are criticisms of it. There are a lot of people don't like the show for the same reason they didn't like season 1. They love the OG comic character. They hate the Disney Plus version of him, which I can understand. But again, I'm not an OG comic fan, so it doesn't annoy me or anger me the way it would if I was. So again, I apologize to any OG Marvel fans out there who hate Loki season 1 and season 2, but it just doesn't push my buttons to anywhere near the degree, for instance, that The Last Jedi did, which really pushed my buttons. But outside those factors, again, compared to the standard that's been set, which is a pretty bad standard that's been set by Disney Plus over the last 2 years, Loki season 2 is the best thing we've seen in terms of writing. And I think Genv is better than that. And so compared to the, frustratingly short, badly written, bugger all happens, short episodes we've gotten from both Secret Invasion, season 3 of The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and also, again, Ahsoka. Although I think Ahsoka we only had really 2 very short episodes of that type, if memory serves me. This episode is, again, it's short, and as a season, maybe because it's a season final, it's not frustrating for that reason. But it, again, is much, much better written. And this isn't just in terms of dialogue, both in terms of quality and quantity. It's also in terms of what happens. It's an awful lot more happens on screen in this episode than happens in any of those short Disney Plus episodes, whether it be Star Wars or MCU. In terms of just now, it is, again, it's a very action-filled episode, and it is mostly action, which leads me to the suspicion and the view that it should have been the final part of an extended length episode 7. They should be attached to episode 7, but they obviously may have done it to just get an extra episode on this for the season, so that there's more people sitting down for more weeks to look at it, which I don't think was a particularly good idea. But the writing is here, the dialogue is here, and you've got, it's not necessarily constantly action from every moment, but it's, there's a sustained amount of it. And it should also be noted, from a production value standpoint, compared to some of the stuff we've seen out of Disney Plus, and particularly compared to Secret Invasion, the production quality here is much, much better. The special effects, the CGI special effects, are much, much better than what you see in Secret Invasion, which would lead me to believe that they massively overspent during the initial production on Secret Invasion and just didn't have the money or the will to spend the money on the post-production to get the CGI to where it needed to be. And again, compared to Secret Invasion, which cost apparently a little over $200 million to make, this show's got 2 more episodes than Secret Invasion does, a huge chunk, at least half of Secret Invasions. I think the first 2 episodes of Secret Invasion are about 50 minutes long a piece each, I believe, if memory serves me correctly. But after that, the runtime per episode falls off a cliff. You're down to somewhere between 30 to 40 minutes max, and that includes previously on and the credits. And I think it's more like 30 minutes to 35, 36 minutes max per episode. And again, bugger all goes on in those episodes. And when you do see CGI special effects, in terms of both quality and scale, they're nothing like what you're seeing here. And this is a show, in terms of, again production quality, there's only one episode that's anywhere near, again, it's this one, as short as many of the episodes of Secret Invasion were. The rest of the episodes are substantially longer, and there's 8 of them compared to, again, one of them is a very kind of truncated, very short episode, again, the final one. But there's 8 episodes in total compared to Secret Invasion 6, and the total combined runtime for this season of this season of Genv compared to Secret Invasion, it must be, in minute runtime, it must be 3 times that of Secret Invasion, because again, when you take out the previously on and the credits, like a lot of Secret Invasion's episodes are barely half an hour or maybe less long. And so this is a big, as I said, a big upgrade over Secret Invasion in terms of what you're seeing on screen. When you're supposed to have large numbers of extras on screen, they're on screen rather than scream. The production quality is there throughout. The special effects are there throughout, both CGI and practical. The cinematography, the lighting. It's, if they spent the same amount of money as Disney did on Secret Invasion, they spent it vastly better than Disney did. And one could argue it may well be a mistake to employ actors from the movies, because they may well be substantially more expensive to employ, which is one of the reasons why the production quality doesn't look as good compared to this. But in this, you've got well, the one area where I might put a bit of criticism is that there may well be some kind of CGI blood spatter when, say, someone explodes or has bits blown off them in this, not compared to anything, but just in this show, that you might view as being, a negative in terms of the production quality. But it's not enough to really kind of. It's still done pretty well, all things considered, and I wouldn't call it a serious criticism, and it certainly doesn't break suspension of disbelief or, cause you to lose your concentration in terms of watching it. But that's basically it. And in every other area, this murderizes Secret Invasion. Again, Loki is better written, but there isn't necessarily a huge amount of CGI work in that, all things considered. Again, we don't know how much Loki cost. And Tom Hiddleston would not be cheap to employ, neither would... is it the younger or the elder Wilson brother? I think it's Owen Wilson. I think it's the younger. Owen Wilson's the younger one. And they wouldn't be cheap to employ, so that might, contribute to the cost there. But it's, how, if it turns out that Amazon spent less money making this than Disney spent on Secret Invasion, that gives you an idea as to how utterly dysfunctional Disney Plus has become. and may well have been from the beginning. It's possible the first couple of shows, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision, and season 1 of Loki, were as good as they were compared to what we've seen since, just by dumb luck / accident. Although Loki season 2 is much better written than anything we've seen since. And I think, again, if you hate the portrayal of Loki in this first season, you're going to hate it here. So there's nothing I can do about that. But this show is just, and this episode and this whole show, the whole season, is just so much better put together, or better put together overall. And if it does in fact turn out that Disney is, if it does turn out that that Amazon spent less money than Disney did on Secret Invasion, it'd just be, I can only imagine is it not Schneckenfreud or Freud, forget that term. It would just be, a real indicator that things have gone real wrong at Disney, and someone needs to be brought in to right the ship. I think Kevin Feige just cannot cover both the movies properly and the Disney Plus MCU stuff at the same time. And the people in charge at Lucasfilm, as the Star Wars sequel trilogy, in my view, proves, didn't know what they were doing from day one, and everything that they've put out has been at best mediocre or worse. Ahsoka was a step in the right direction. That's substantially better overall than what came before, but that's still not saying much, quite frankly. In terms of the episode itself, spoiler warning, what we get here is basically kind of anarchy on campus after it seems very angry and or mentally ill people who are in the basement in the woods are let out, with the female telepath who can make you forget things and make you do things even if you don't want to do them, whose name, Maddie Phillips as Kat Dunlap, who has telepathic abilities, basically convinces the supers, plus that fireball dude who killed himself's crazy brother, to go on a murderous rampage against the normies on campus. And this is where you get the blood, death, and gore. Plus some of the supers do fight each other and kill each other as well. And so, again, I have nothing. These sequences, they are very good. I can't say, again, with the possible exception of maybe some CGI blood splatter thrown into the mix. Although I think it is in every one of those sequences, I think it's a combination of physical prop work and effects and CGI. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments and let me know if that's not the case. But it looks good, doesn't look cheap, doesn't look, quality-wise compromised in any way. And we basically get, and I was in my previous episode review, episode 7 review, I was assuming that the main character of the show, Marie Moreau, would end up she was basically presented with a choice in the last episode. The choice being that she could either play the game and end up the first quote-unquote black woman in the 7, or she could, try and be a whistleblower and get basically crushed by Vought. And I was under I thought that, again, I said this in my review of the previous episode, that my guess would be that this would be this is what would play out in this season final, and that she would go to play the game route, because that would integrate her character into season 4 of The Boys. And it would also be tonally in line with the show. Characters don't necessarily do completely selfless, virtuous things. Even the good guys don't. It's one of the reasons why the show is so good. The characters are so interesting, good and bad. But that's not what happens here. What happens here is, firstly, Marie Moreau finds out that she can, just like Senator or Congressman Newman, whose full name I forget, that she can actually blow people up from the inside out. And she doesn't actually explode someone from the inside out. But when Kat Dunlop tries to mind control Andre Anderson by touching him, probably to try and get him to attack Marie Moreau, she blows up her arm, which is one of the better special effects. It's kind of gory and horrific, and it works really well. And you think that's going to be kind of the end of the episode. She's offered previously by the leadership at Vault, who happened to be there at the time, that they'll elevate her to the 7 if she keeps them alive and kills the naughty supers who are going around murdering. And then what happens at the last moment is that Homelander turns up, who's I've only recently discovered there were some people who didn't like season 3 of The Boys. I didn't really pay attention to the reviews, that I was just enjoying it, but for the most part. But I'll have to look into why they didn't like it. But I have the suspicion that it might be something to do with the fact that Homelander seems to be becoming a bit of a soup supremacist, and that is effectively kind of being used as an analogy for kind of quote unquote white supremacy. But whether that's the case or not, well, I'll have to. I'm not going to go back and watch season 3 of The Boys again, but we'll watch season 4 and see how it plays out. But apparently he's not too impressed. Well, he apparently isn't too impressed with, again, spoiler warnings, with them, Marie Moreau and the rest of the her friends, killing all the normies, standard normal humans, or not killing all the standard normal humans on campus, but killing other supers to protect those normie humans on campus. And one of the things we see at the end of the last part of that sequence is his eyes going bright before he zaps her, which he does. He zaps her, but doesn't. She wakes up to find herself with her other friends, Little Cricket, Andrea Anderson, who's portrayed by Chance Perdomo, Jordan Lee, that's the kind of sex/gender swapping character who can become male and female on the fly, and that's basically all of them. Find themselves locked in a underground cell with no obvious door and no obvious way out. And we find out that Kat Dunlop and what is his name again? Golden Boy's crazy brother Sam have both been branded the new Guardians of Godolphin, while the old Guardians of Godolphin, our friends, have been blamed for the massacre, and as I've already said, are basically locked in what we assume is some sort of underground hospital room with no doors. So as it stands with the end of this season, unless I'm missing something, no one's been added to the 7. And so this show could well stay completely separated / segregated from The Boys season 4. I'm not completely necessarily sure what this show is supposed to have an impact on season 4 of The Boys. I'm just not completely sure what that is. We do get a sequence at the end, partially into the trailers, of the leader of The Boys, whose character's name I apologize, forgotten, finds the trees, as it were, the underground bunker in Godolphin University. And so it's possible that season 4 of The Boys may well revolve around that vat/container of that bioweapon that I think it's Victoria Newman, Senator/Congresswoman Victoria Newman, got her hands on. I think it was in the last episode, and which is currently unaccounted for. We'll have to see what happens there. But so that might play into, again, season 4 of The Boys. So then maybe The Boys are looking for it so they can use it against Homelander and his friends. And it certainly seems to be clear that Homelander's kind of gone down the superiority of the supers compared to everyone else route. If he's willing to punish people for protecting normies against supers who've gone bad or nuts or whatever it happens to be. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. I think at this point, in terms of season 4 of The Boys, either Gen V will be siloed, where the only connection between Gen V and season 4 is the bioweapon, option 1, or option 2, maybe the core kind of 4 characters of who are currently locked in a prison, or in a what looks is kind of like a hospital bedroom, or hospital room with no doors, will either remain completely cut off, and they might get a second season cut off from season 4 of The Boys, and they might get a second season of Gen V, option 1, or option 2, maybe they get broken out at some point during season 4 of The Boys. But how much of a role they play in season 4 apart from that, I do not know. Or it's even possible that if there's a season 2 of Gen V, that they get broken out by the Boys in season 2 of Gen V. It could go either way. Apparently season 4 of The Boys is done. They're just doing post-production, color correction, editing, effects, and so on. We probably won't see it though till, considering we're late in the year now, we won't see it till next year. And that'll certainly be on my season 4 of The Boys will certainly be on my absolutely definitely to watch list. But as it currently stands, it's either the bioweapon revealed in this is I assume to be the main story thread, quite probably in season 4 of The Boys, and whatever Homelander's got planned in general. And we might see some of the characters from Gen V turning up in that show. In what capacity, not quite sure yet. I assume The Boys may well break out the Gen V core characters from prison hospital, or whatever they're in. Whether that happens in The Boys season 4 and Gen V season 2, that's again unknown. And if they do get rescued in season 4 of The Boys, it might just be effectively a cameo or close to this, some transfer of information, and they go off and we don't see them again. Or maybe they get more heavily integrated into the story. But the Boys team itself is already relatively packed. You've already got 2 supers, plus the other, was it 3 or 4 members? Again, it's been so long since season 3, I can't remember exactly how many people make up the Boys team at present. And Queen Maeve is retired, but I'm sure she'll turn up again at some point. But in the meantime, I think that's the likely way it'll end up. Either it's just the virus and nothing else. B, Gen V kids who were again stuck in that prison hospital get broken out by them, and there's kind of a cameo, and then they're not in season 4 again, or they're integrated pretty heavily into season 4 of The Boys, and maybe further on going into the future. And if that happens, I don't think we'll see a second season of Gen V. I think that's if you want a second season of Gen V, the third option, I think, is the most likely to result in you not getting what you want. Apart from that, I think that's pretty much it. There are my straight after watching it thoughts on Gen V. Let me know what you think in the comments, both around your views on Gen V as a whole. Again, one of the best shows I think I've seen so far this year, although again, it's not been a great year, particularly because I've watched so much bloody Disney Plus content this year, all things considered, and it's been so disappointing to terrible. And let me know if, again, any shows you think I should be watching right now that I'm not. Let me know let me know about them in the comments. And let me know your thoughts in the comments, suggestions on how I can improve my videos. Let that be in the comments as well. And if for some incredibly insane reason you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to it and ring the bell to get instant notifications of when I have uploaded new content. This is Defub21 signing off. Toodaloo.